Welcome back, I'm Peter Millard, and in the workshop this week we had a quick follow-on video for you. Still talking about the Parkside track saw, but we're going to see if changing the blade for a 48 tooth really improves the quality of cut. That's coming up next. So I said when I did the Lidl Parkside track saw video recently that I wanted to try it with a better blade in it. One of the things you can generally improve is by putting a better quality blade in it, and lo and behold, Amazon happened to have a special on the Triton 48 tooth blade. It's a 5-degree negative rake. They sell it as a laminate blade, so it should be pretty good. Anyway, it was too good an opportunity to pass up, so I've picked one up and we'll do a couple of quick tests with it. Now, I think I mentioned in the first video that the stock blade that comes with a Lidl Parkside saw is a little bit thicker than usual. It's a 2.6mm kerf instead of a more normal 2.2, and indeed the Triton saw blade has a 2.2mm kerf. So what we'll have to do for this test is use the original half of the guide rail, 700mm length of rail, that's been trimmed back for this blade. Then I'll change the blades over and I'll use the other guide rail that hasn't had its splinter guard trimmed back yet, trim that back with this blade before we make the cut. But other than that, it's going to be a standard cross cut in 12mm birch ply, just to see how these blades perform against each other. So as we found on the first cut, the stock blade actually is really perfectly decent. There's nothing actually much wrong with that. Hopefully you'd be able to improve upon it. In fact, the waist side is actually better than the splinter guard side, which makes me wonder if the splinter guard is actually making full contact. But for a stock blade that comes with a cheap plunge saw, that's very impressive. Streets ahead of the out-of-the-box experience that we had with the Aldi saw. I'm going to change the blades over, trim the splinter guard back on the other rail, and then make the cut with the second blade. So when it comes to the blade change, there's one thing that is ever so slightly disappointing. We're really nitpicking now on a budget saw, but it has a very nice locking plunge, so you can change the blade nicely, but it doesn't lock the spindle. You've still got a manual spindle lock on this, so hardly the end of the world in a budget saw, but it's one of those sort of niceties that would have been good to have. Anyway, let's get this blade changed and be on our way. And with the splinter guard trimmed back for the new blade and our guide rail in position, it's time for our next cut. So interesting, with the stock blade, the waist side cut was very clean, and the quality of the board, the edge of the board, is really, really good as well. Whereas with the splinter guard side and the stock blade, you didn't get such as a good clean surface cut, and the edge of the board was slightly scorched as well. With the 48 tooth blade, the Triton blade, the waist side cut is a little bit splintery, as you'd expect, and the splinter guard side is really, really clean, and yet both edges of the board are really clean and tidy. So fairly obviously a 48 tooth blade will give you a cleaner cut, but also, you could have been forgiven for thinking that you'd had a little bit of incorrect toe in or something with the saw with the original blade, the stock blade, but that goes away completely when you've got the 48 tooth blade in it. Now, you might think that it's an obvious conclusion to reach that the 48 tooth blade will produce a better quality of finish than the standard 24 tooth blade, especially in a budget track saw like this. But to be honest, until we try these things, you don't genuinely know. And if you'd have told me that you were spending 10 quid on a circular saw blade, I'd have said, well, that's probably fine for rough stuff, but for a decent quality of finishing, nice quality ply, you'll need something a bit better. For £10, this is an extraordinarily good blade. I wish they made it in the the size that suits my saws, but unfortunately it is only in 165mm, so good for the Lidl Parkside saw, good for the Triton saw, of course, or the Makita saw. Not that the stock 24 tooth blade is bad. We do have that slightly worrying situation where the splinter guard side seems to produce a worse cut than the waste side, which is a bit curious. Also that slight scorching. We had no such problems with the Triton blade, and I think for 10 quid that's an outstanding value upgrade to make to your cheap Lidl Parkside saw. Great value for money, and thoroughly recommended. Well, that's it for this week. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care.